Well, the other type of speciation that our matrics must know about is sympatric speciation. Remember, allopatric was about the geographical barrier. Sympatric, Colin, yes.
Yeah, I think let's give them the definition and the slide of what sympatric speciation is, and let them select the key word that will, give us why this is sympatric speciation and not allopatric speciation. Look at the definition. A population forms a new species within the same area as the parent species.
There's your definition. And what's different from allopatric is what Colin is asking. And we're waiting for answers.
Yeah. We want to see what is the key word there that distinguishes sympatric speciation from allopatric speciation. And since there we see the same area. You see,
same area.
All of them, this species, they live in the same area.
Yeah, they've got fruit flies.
There's no geographic barrier there, nothing that separates them. So, but there must be something that separates them so that they become different species. So,
these fruit flies prefer different colors of apples, but might also be a different taste. They might breed in different seasons. They might be active one more active in the morning, the other one more active during the evening, but in some way they don't get to mate with each other. And once again, over a long time, changes will occur.
And if you look at that specific, if we can just go quickly back to that slide, we can see that here it is about food preference. These fruit flies, and you must remember, they lay their eggs within the fruit. So they prefer red fruit, apples, and they prefer the green ones. And it's food preference that will separate them. There's another form of sympatric speciation, and this is, of course, where you can see where this is an example of the host preference, what we've just said, the food preference, or habitat preference. If you have one tree, there can be resource partitioning. Some of them occupying different levels in that same tree, or at if you look at the beach, some of them, and maybe you can. We don't have an.
Let's have a look at a picture for this resource partition.
Yeah, we don't have the slide for that, but there you go.
There's a mountain, and you might find that you've got tall trees here at the bottom, so it's woody, sparser plants at the top, and just mosses and very sparse plants. And this might be colder, this might be a moderate temperature, and this might even be tropical. Pardon the handwriting, but I'm sure you know what I mean. And we might find that originally organisms may be of the same species, but slowly for some reason, and it's sometimes difficult to say why. It can be because of mutations. It can simply because at some stage one of them got up to this area and just liked it there and stayed there and never returned. But for some reason, you had a group developing, adapting, liking, coping, changing into a new species that you will always find in the colder area, adapted to the sparse vegetation with a certain food type. Another species of the original, there's the original number 1. There you've got species number 2 and 3 and 4. Now what is important, number 1 may still exist. Number 1 may live here, or number 1 may disappear altogether if conditions are not suitable here, but you will still have 2, 3, and 4. And all of 2, 3, and 4 will be incompatible with 1 and with each other. So in the end, you will have 3 or 4 new species. It's the same type of thing that you had with the finches. This is just the same area, the same mountainside, same forest, but it was resource partitioning because they used various part of it. Also, it became because of climate, habitat, food preferences that Colin has mentioned. And then the last one is quite interesting, and I think that was where we get our bread wheat from.
Yeah, and I think we explained this the previous time that we gave them the explanation of what polyploidy is. And as Lorraine has explained to you how this speciation takes place over a long period of time, this is actually this type of speciation that can be seen instantly. That is where you get the double number or gametes with a diploid number, and they are bigger, and of course they become instant speciation. There, we're just running through this now. All of these we have explained to you, a change in habitat with that drawing. Polyploidy, as we have said now, you see there you see the bigger flowers, and you actually do get it also in animals there, as you can see earthworms.
Yeah,
They
only a
become very,
few.
very big. Only a
Very
few.
interesting. Yeah, remember we did polyploidy last week, so I'm sure you know what that's all about.
And let's just run through. If they should ask you on sympatric speciation, once again, you must mention there's variation within a population. Very important, they occupy the same area, there's no geographical barrier. Then, why do they become separated? Because of their differences. They might have behavioral patterns, and that might be, and you can give an example of it, their feeding habits due to polyploidy, etc. And they undergo natural selection, you see, exactly the same as allopatric speciation, independently, develops differently, becomes differently genotypically as well as phenotypically, and we see no gene flow. Well, although in the same habitat, there will be no gene flow between these different populations now. They can't interbreed, which means they can't pass on those genes even if they are mixing with one another.
And I think our Matrix understands that the basic happenings about natural selection, new species, stopping of gene flow, being differently genotypically and phenotypically are the same. But the main thing is geographical barrier, no geographical barrier. Physically separated, physically together. And yes, Colin, I think that was a good explanation, and I hope our learners understand that.